Hello and welcome to the Mortgage Broker Builder Show, CEO 1440 show, where we examine your 1,440 minutes every single day, looking at maximizing it, telling you a little bit about mortgage, a little bit about tech, all kinds of things with the hope and the desire to help you clear some constraints inside of your business so things flow a little bit more smoothly, better, and ultimately we just lead a better, more happy life. And I've got a guest here today. He's got a great, really good Irish guy. Anthony Balsamo, not Irish at all, but thought it would be kind of funny to throw that out there. I try to be funny and I'm not, but been here building websites and different tech related mortgage things since 2011. That goes back a long, long time. And he doesn't look that old, but he's got a wealth of knowledge for us today. So Anthony, how are you? Yeah, you got some grace, John. There.
Yeah, I got the grace to prove it. Been around the block a few times.
Yeah, haven't we all? I feel like the mortgage industry as a whole, we're just kind of aging ourselves. Like I go to these things and you see all these, like, it's really a group of old men. We're all like 4 to 5 years behind the trends. So it's old dudes, and I'm one of them. I'm right there with them. I'm in the mix. Old dudes in skinny jeans, wearing like shoes that were cool like a few years ago. Like everybody's got the Jordans on. None of the young kids are wearing them anymore. It's only us old mortgage dudes.
Yeah, so, old mortgage dudes hijacked it, and then it's not cool anymore.
Yeah, no, not cool at all. I personally like to shop at Costco. If I can't buy all of my clothing at Costco, or I just got a dozen of the same T-shirt, that makes life really simple. If I can't do that, then I don't really like it. But that's beside the point. So the reason that I wanted to bring you on here, first, I just love to get a little backstory. I know you've done origination, a bunch of stuff like everybody. Yeah. You dabble in mortgage, you do it for a while, you become successful, you have a problem, and you're like, oh, I can fix that. Then you fix it, and you're like, oh, that works pretty good. Maybe I'll try and fix it for other people. Now, 14 years later, you're still fixing it. So tell us a little bit like what you do, what is Vonk Digital, who you are, little just background.
Yeah, thanks. I'll try to keep it brief. Back to the gray hair. This is not from marketing and software. That's from mortgage. So I had a mortgage company for almost 15 years. That's where the gray hair came from. Before that, I was an AE. And Vonk, our core product is a mortgage website platform, LOs, branches, brokerages and independent mortgage bankers. That's what we cover. We only do sites for the mortgage industry. But how it started was when I started my company, we needed a website. There was a couple templated options available, which we used, some to some success. But then as we grew, we outgrew the limitations of them and were forced to build our own custom website, which was a nightmare in and of itself. It was really expensive back then. Everything's kind of come down in the last decade and 2 decades, but $10,000, $20,000, 4 or 5 months. We used to joke a couple blocks from our office while we were having our custom website built, an empty parking lot with like weeds growing out of it, literally empty, nothing there, abandoned. They built an entire Walgreens pharmacy, and it was open for business before my website was built. So like there was a lot of friction, I guess is my point, to getting that done. So ultimately we ended up building our own site, realizing that now that we had something that could grow and was more elastic and could scale with us, business models change. You don't even have to get huge to change, pivot from consumer direct to distributed retail or want to, focus on certain things. Your website should be able to kind of adapt with you. So once we kind of got through all that heartache and pain of getting ourselves there, that's where the idea for the company spawned from. And it was, other businesses will have the same issue. What if we turn it into its own thing? So that's how Vonk was born. I actually wasn't an active participant in the company in Vonk until 2020. So I was still running my mortgage company until we sold it to another local company in San Diego. And I made it a little over a year of a 3-year contract and just decided that the origination side of the world was, that chapter of my book was closed.
Okay.
I was done. I was burnt out. If you've been, I think there was a little, that's been 5 years now. So when I look back, I think there was a little bit of, you know, being an entrepreneur, that's kind of in your blood. I had been self-employed since I was in my early 20s and transitioning out of that world, I struggled with. I can say that honestly now. Um, so yeah, now we're here just helping the industry try to get out there online.
Yeah, and I am quite familiar with Vonk. My wife, right, uses a Vonk Digital. I know a lot of different people. As we would launch brokers, we have people that we helped launch, and I've got people out there using your sites, love what it is. One thing that I really like is you're not out there trying to sell all of these other packages on top of SEO and all kinds of other things. Like the sites are what you do, and I
Mm-hmm.
think you do them really well. So kudos to you there. Um,
Appreciate that.
and I totally understand. Once you've closed that door behind, like once you leave out of the production side, you can't kind of half dabble in it and be any good at it. It's just something that will drive you, I think, bananas.
And the industry is so, it's a very competitive landscape. And I think once you lose your passion for it, you can only fake it for so long. Like I get pumped up. I was just at an event. We were just talking about it before we started recording, out in Vegas, surrounded by some really heavy hitter originators. And it's pretty easy to tell, like, if you don't have it in you, you're not going to keep up. So I think it doesn't matter if it's mortgage or anything else. Once you lose a passion in whatever you're doing, it might be time to start something new. So I just found that for myself, and I couldn't be happier now, to be honest with you. I love it. I love what we're doing.
So onto the websites. That's kind of why we're here talking. I have, like I said before, a lot of what I've done over the last couple of years. I help bankers transition that wanted to become brokers. I've coached a lot of individuals on just being able to, I'd like to say, get their poop in a group. But I, they're coming to me, and I can't tell you how many stories I have. A ton of people that went out, they're setting up their mortgage shop, they're starting their business, and they go out, they go to Workup or Fiverr, they find somebody that's going to build them a page, and they're 3-5 grand into this custom build,
Yep.
and it's terrible. Is that like where a lot of your business comes from? Like, how do people find Vonk in the first place? And what's kind of like the average person that you're dealing with? Who's coming to you for a website today?
Yep. That's a good question. So a lot of it traditionally, so for a while, a lot of the independent mortgage banks were very protective of their brand and didn't let their branches and LOs do their own thing, which has really changed in the last, I'd say, 2.5 years. So now we're doing a lot more like branches, but the majority of our business is mortgage brokers, independent LOs. And yeah, there is a big portion. It's kind of split. There's some people that are like, I don't have time for this. I know this. I know I can't do this, but I know I need it. And they skip the DIY step, which I think it's really more just personality based, but they're lucky because they don't have to go through that pain of hiring a contractor. And not all of them are bad. Some of them work out, but the mortgage industry is unique. It's like its own language, and it can be painful to go and try to build your own. But then there's that other segment, yeah, where they they may try to go build their own. A lot of them will try to not just skip the even hiring somebody and do it themselves. And then I'll see kind of a half-baked page that's not compliant. There's no lead forms, there's no content, the whole thing. Um, so it's a combination. It's the people that try to DIY it or outsource it. And then there's people that just come direct. We also do get a lot of people that have been watching us for years. Like that's another thing, just to talk about marketing in general. Like it's not a, this week, this month, this quarter proposition. So hopefully all the people listening, especially the originators, when you're thinking about, should I be creating content? Should I do email marketing? Should I, is this stuff even working? Like with consistency, it really does. I mean, the amount of times I have people say, Oh yeah, I've been following you for 2 years, 3 years. So like, stick with it is my point. Does that make sense?
Hey, if you're here, it's because you understand that the world is changing at an alarming rate, and you understand that big data is going to dominate as we move forward. Either you're going to use it to grow your market share, or somebody's going to use it against you to grow theirs. If you want to dig a little bit deeper here, take a look at your own business, figure out and identify some key constraints, maybe some things that you could do a little bit differently to grow a little faster. Here's what I can tell you. After 27 years of doing this, helping well over 1,000 loan officers earn hundreds of millions of dollars in commissions, there are a couple of key constraints inside of your business. I don't know what they are right now. I just know that they exist. So if you're curious about this, let's get on a strategy call. Take 20, 30 minutes. You will walk away with 1 or 2 actionable items that you can do to do more business as you move forward. There'll be a link someplace here on the page. I look forward to personally meeting you. 100%. I like to throw back. Anytime you're looking at investing in something, my belief is this: I have the cost of what it would cost, right? I come and get a website from Vonk, and it's going to cost me, I don't know, I'll throw out $150 a month. I know that
Yep.
I can actually get in for less than. I'll just use $150 a month.
Yep.
And okay, so what's the cost there? But really, what the question I pose back to people: what's the cost in 6 months if you don't do it? How
Yep.
many deals are you losing? Are you losing 2 deals a year? Well, 2 deals a year at, if you make $2,000 a deal, let's just say that's $4,000. Well, your site wasn't going to cost you anywhere close to that. So it's not necessarily there's the cost that it will be today, but what's the cost in the future? And like I said, I refer a lot of people, especially if you're starting out, go to someone that knows what they're doing, because I've looked at dozens of pages where there's none of the legal stuff that needs to be on there.
Yep.
Like nothing, like it's so far out of compliance. It's not even funny. And then you end up as an originator spending hours of your time going back and fixing the mistakes. So if you are somebody that's going to grow to be the next Rocket Mortgage, and you want to have this super site that you own all the code, it's all yours, start with something simple while you're building your massive site.
Yep.
And get some revenue coming in, start closing loans, start doing those other things. And don't let the website be your problem. That's the biggest one to solve, because I can write and close a couple of loans without a website at all and start generating revenue. So that's word to the wise. Anybody out there that's thinking about it, find a company. I love Vonk. I think they do a great job. There's a couple others out there that I think also do a good job.
Yep.
But I like these guys, and they're not going to try and sell you SEO all the time, which is also a perk. They're not going to try and upsell you. So I think it's good.
Well, we should elaborate on that a little bit, John, because when you say, you don't know, you could be missing one, 2 deals a year, 1, 2 deals a month. It doesn't matter. And I'd like to hear your take on this, but the buyer's journey in general seems to have shifted, where in the past, someone becomes aware of you. We'll use the loan officer as an example, just to keep this very relevant. Someone becomes aware of the loan officer. The next stage was they now had the ability, like this discovery stage where they're trying to decide whether or not they want to work with them. Traditionally, that happened either on the phone or in person with the loan officer. And why that's important is because during the time when somebody is trying to make a decision on whether or not they feel comfortable working with you, you get to participate in that. And what I mean by that is, like, you can build rapport, you can answer objections, but at least you have a shot while they're trying to figure it out whether or not they're going to move forward, right? Well, that was traditional. Nowadays, the awareness piece hasn't really changed. Maybe some of the mediums have. You're using social media platforms and podcasts and all this other stuff. It doesn't really matter. You can fill in the blank of every way you can be, promote yourself. It's all kind of comes under the term of advertising, even if you're not paying for it, right? But the next step, which I think is the biggest thing that's changed, is that after someone becomes aware of you, the immediate first step is not that phone call or that in-person meeting. Instead of that discovery meeting, a lot of people are doing self-discovery. So they're going to go research you. They're going to Google you. Even if you get referred, it's what can I find on my own? Let me make up my own mind. And to your point, that's where those people are lost, because the difference of the prior process of how things worked, you would know if you lost them because after the conversation, they decide not to work with you. But in this new world, they're going to do their own discovery, and they're making the majority of that decision before you even knew they existed or were interested. So that to me is where a web presence and some of the things you're doing online uh, become really impactful, is saving and giving yourself a shot in the stage of the buyer's journey when they're making decisions. And that's the research stage.
Yeah, I get this feedback all the time. I don't really need a website, or I don't really need, none of my clients like to use an app, right? I've got a FinLocker app that we
Yep.
include in our, none of my
Awesome.
clients like to use an app. They
Yep.
all want to make phone calls. I'm like, that's exactly the reason you do one. Because every client out there in the world that does like to use an app, you're just not hearing about them.
Right.
And nobody ever calls and say, I would have done business with you, Carol, but you didn't have an app. So they never make it into your ecosystem.
Yep.
I remember when I was young, my grandmother liked to go to, ATM cards had come out. We had these passbooks. You'd go to the bank. I'm old. You'd go to the bank and you'd deposit money and they'd handwrite it in there. There was a ledger you had and one they had.
Yep.
My grandma hated her ATM card. She liked to go to the bank. So if that's the only way you could have banking, like, you would never interact with her.
Yep.
She would not have known. But there were clients, if the bank only, maybe there is a bank out there that only has handwritten ledgers today.
Yep.
They're probably out of business though, because other people have wanted something new. And I really look at, there's important things that happen inside of the journey. The most important thing ever is them finding you for the first time.
Yep.
And that's not a lead. They find you way before it's a lead. Like, maybe when your real estate agent refers your name, that's when they found you, but it hasn't become a lead yet until they engage somehow. And you've got social media, you've got a plethora of different ways that get them to the point. So you need to be found. And then you somehow or another need to be in the room when they're making that buying decision.
Mm-hmm.
But there's a lot of steps that go from that point to them ready to hit your apply now button.
Yep. Well, especially with mortgages, because it's not like buying a piece of sporting equipment where you're just like, oh, I want a basketball, and you just buy it. Like the chances of someone being ready the first time that they are thinking about it is really, it's really low. So there's going to be some gap that you got to be, consistently showing up. One thing I've been big on lately, sorry, I don't mean to just keep going.
Oh, I like it.
One thing I've been really kind of bullish on is, and I know I've been talking to you a lot about calculators, but that's not really that's not really why. The why is, I could probably explain it. I'm calling it the food court framework. Have you ever been to a food court before?
I have. I love food courts. I can get French fries and pizza at the same time.
Yeah, there you go. Well, so you go into a food court. Usually when you go in, I'll speak for myself. Usually when I go in, I'm undecided on what I'm going to get. And the first part about it is just kind of looking around, seeing all the different options, looking at the different store logos. I know I'm probably going to get something unless everything seems gross to me, but the majority of the time I go in, I'm going to end up with food. It's just which one. So you're walking through, a lot of overwhelm, and then someone leans over and you just hear in the corner of your ear, want a free sample? So for me, when I think back about it, if I get a free sample of teriyaki chicken in a food court, it's almost like all the other places went away. And now the next thing that's happened, it's like almost like I blacked out. Now I'm walking back to the table with my teriyaki chicken, 2 sides, and a drink, right? My point is that what if like that free sample model in a lot of businesses, it's very strategic. And what if we can take that and put it into the loan officers quiver? So, okay, it's like, well, what do I give for a free sample? I sell money. So it's not like you can go around and giving people $5 or $20 and be like, isn't that sweet? What if I give you 500,000? Like, that wouldn't work in this industry. But if you can give something of value, Yeah, you mentioned the FinLocker app. That's one. Um, that this calculator suite that we've been working on, Goalie, to me, it's a way for somebody to start interacting with you where the barrier to entry is very low. It's not aggressive. It's like, let me give you something of value, try us out. And then some of those people, because you did that, will transcend into a client and some won't. But I think if we can focus more on that free sample for, that chicken teriyaki in our marketing, the rest should sort itself out, assuming you're good at what you do and your follow-up's good and everything else. But like focusing really on that piece, I think is important. The reason I'm so bullish on calculators as one of those things you could use is just because of the demand, specifically in the Google data of people that are searching for it anyway. There's 3.5 to 4 million people in the US a month looking for these things. It's like, okay, well, why don't we just give them that before we lose them to the juggernauts? So anyway,
Yeah,
does that make sense?
No, it makes perfect sense. And the free sample model, what I see that's pretty interesting is I see somebody post a fantastic thing about first-time home buyers. And it piques my interest. If I was looking at, I now want to, the natural progression is I want to know what a payment would look like.
Yeah.
And they end it with apply now for a pre-approval. But I'm not ready for the pre-approval. So guess what I do? I go in and I type in mortgage payment calculator. And lo and behold, I go to, it was Sally running her small brokerage in small city, Arkansas, goes in, where does she hit? Sally's client, it was her hairdresser, saw her post, now ends up at, mortgagecalculator.org. It's a rate table. It's super highly optimized to drive people to, gives them the calculator. And then down there at the bottom, it gives them rates from different people, landing pages. The next thing you know, I don't remember the hairdresser's name, but she's now 7 clicks deep into 5 other people's rate tables, forgot all about the social media post. All you had to have was a rate table or a calculator on your own website, do the exact same post and just, hey, click it. We've got calculators right here for you. Check them out. So make your call to action. Check out my free sample, my chicken teriyaki, versus go and search the whole food court for chicken teriyaki. And we just had,
come back. Yeah.
If you think Rocket, right? So Rocket just bought Redfin, which is kind of cool and cool for them. I don't know for everyone else, but think about their journey, right? They spend billions of dollars to buy Truebill. Mm-hmm. They're marketing kids right out of college, right? Let me manage your finances. Like by the time somebody buys a house, the average homeowner today, first time home buyer, I think is 38. Rocket Money may have been sitting in front of that person for 14 years. With 2 emails a month, high open rates for 14 years, they've got 80 touches into them by the time the person's ready to get a mortgage. Do you think they're not going to check out that calculator and then they're going to shop them for a home? And so it makes sense that they're going to own that. And if they find a way, if there's a company that gets them data at birth, like if they can buy Social Security where you've got to register your kid for Social Security, Rocket will be trying to buy Social Security to get everybody registered at birth, and they'll find a way to monetize it all the way through. They'll be selling you sporting equipment in middle school. You'll have, Rocket something in as you go from 8th grade to high school, Rocket shoes. It's just a massive marketing, but you've got to, as an individual loan officer, one of the things I talk about a lot is having a portable personal brand. And I don't tell it to people to have them wanting to leave the company that they're at. Sometimes you're at great companies and things are awesome. But if you're not building a brand that's more about the name on the back of the jersey, maybe than on the front. And here's the reason, even if you're at a great company, those great companies get bought, sold. You can't control what the owner does. Next thing you know, you're now working for somebody that doesn't have the same belief systems. If all of your data and everything's tied up inside of that company's and you need to make a quick pivot or they shut down a whole department and you don't have your own, you're at a distinct competitive disadvantage.
Yep.
So I think in today's world, you owe it to yourself to have your own website, maintain
Well,
your own CRM, and then maintain the other CRMs that everybody has. Some of the biggest ones are Facebook is a CRM, TikTok is a CRM, Instagram. Those are all CRMs. They're
mhm.
client relationship management systems. It's just higher up in the funnel and doesn't link to your point of sale. But again, all of these things, I think everybody needs to have their own tech stack out there. Just if you want to be doing business in 5 years, I think you almost owe it to yourself to have those things in place today, even if you're going to stay at your company forever.
Well, and it also comes down to distribution. Like you look at the retail brands. We could use Apple as an example. I'll use. Have you ever heard of the clothing brand Viore? It's like
I
a, it's like a Lululemon competitor, basically. They got huge though. The only reason I'm using them is because they're from the town I live in Encinitas. But they they have their distribution and their brand is spread out through retailers, like third party retailers. Um, but they also have their own stores. Like you use Apple as the same example. And as a loan officer, you kind of want to have your own store, and that's not just the website. It's your whole ecosystem of your tech stack where you can. There's somewhere to drive people direct. Your company, great. That's another kiosk that's serving you as a professional. Your referral partners, you could almost consider those other retailers, like you know, I you can buy an iPhone in Best Buy. So Best Buy is still promoting Apple products. That would be maybe your referral partners. But at the end of the day, that having your own ecosystem, your own retail store, for lack of a better example, and brand the people that do that will be served the best in the long term, because like you said, it's not about moving companies or being able to move companies. It's about not disrupting your business if something happens. We worked with a huge lender out of the Midwest that seemed to rise really fast and fall really fast. Within a couple of years, they went from like 1,300 LOs to out of business. Like that can happen. But if you control all your own stuff, it's just a matter of changing the flag, and it's business as usual for your client base. So I totally agree with that.
Yeah, I've seen a lot of people that had pretty good businesses just too tied to one organization, one product, one thing,
Mm-hmm.
and they took a really big hit, and it was independent. They did not do, sometimes bad things happen to good people. These loan officers didn't do anything wrong. The
Yep.
company just made a hard pivot or sold, did something when times get tough, and they were left out there scrambling, no close client database. Where
Yeah.
things like Model Match come in, where you could at least go in and somehow or another try to parse back out and find old data and piece it back together. It's just not a fun place to go.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's like a wildfire went through your business, independent of anything you did, and now you're left cleaning up the pieces. So let's
Yeah.
kind of back up. What you guys have built, I don't know how many, a lot of mortgage websites. What's one of the things that you kind of see the biggest? This is just mortgage 101. What's one of the biggest things that you see mistakes people make before they come to you?
Mistakes they make before they come to me. That's a good question. I think I think one of the biggest mistakes people make is, especially at um, a smaller independent organization, is trying to pretend that they're Rocket and like the big dogs. I think that, and I can say that from somebody from first person experience. When I had my mortgage brokerage, our whole goal was to seem as big and bad and huge and fake it till you make it as you could do. I just think that's not actually what people are looking for if they're going out and looking for an independent mortgage expert. I think they want the advice, they want the hand holding, and you're doing them a disservice, whether it's before or with us, to be honest. Like, you could have a website with us, and if there's no way to get any sort of connection to the human side of your company, when the to wrap it back into when people are doing their own research, I think that's a big miss. And a lot of people will say, well, I don't want to be on the site. It's not about me. Fill in the excuse. And I get that. Like, you don't have to be like the biggest, you don't have to have a humongous picture on the top of the site, but you should be somewhere. There should be some messaging from you, whether it's a video, a short video intro, or even a quote with a headshot, but just something to connect you as a human. Because I can promise you, if somebody's considering you and somebody else in your market, and what they're relying on is the information that they can find about the two of you independently on their own online, and you don't give them anything to sink their teeth into, you're essentially just helping the person that is. That's the way I look at it. So, and being someone that has a face for radio myself, like, it doesn't matter what you look like. I think it's important to connect the dots. I mean, even your wife, on some of the thank you pages on her landing pages, there's videos. Like, she's really tying back to the connection of, this is a real professional and a real person, and you're meeting me now, even before we talk. I just think it's so important.
Well, I think that my belief on this is there's no way I can compete with the big boys out there from a tech standpoint, those kind of things. The only way, if I want to play at that game, the only way that I can compete against them is from a margin standpoint.
Mm-hmm.
I can cut my margin and compete there, but where they can't compete, I can literally send we have people for their close clients from last year, I had people send every one of their close clients a handwritten thank you, actually written by the loan officer that did the deal, their actual settlement statement from closing, highlighted with a highlighter that they took the time to highlight it. Thank you. 2 business cards, one for them, one for their CPA, and a $5 Starbucks gift card. Rocket could not duplicate that. They couldn't. Maybe they could, but they never would, right? Because they want everything automated. It's a big machine. So win where you can. And that's being a unique individual. Have a website that brings out you as your personal brand and does that. Something else that I'd love for you to talk about. Do you guys have any pages that are converting really well? And the reason that I say that is sometimes people don't know about this. And I don't know how many landing pages that you have, but when you do go, whoever you're using, they probably have this whole litany of pages that are built out that you can access. And if you are using a provider, you have access probably to 20 to 50 different landing pages that are out there for different things that your website provider has already built. If you didn't do a custom one, that you can just plug into your business. And I believe, and maybe you'll tell me that I'm crazy, I believe that it's very important, if you're talking about a specific message, if you can drive them to a landing page that also resonates with that message, your pull through rates will be better.
Yep.
So I guess my question is twofold. How many landing pages do you have? And are there any that are converting really high right now for you?
Yeah, it's a good question. So we start the plans out with, I don't know, maybe half dozen, 4, 5, 6 layouts just out of the box. I think the nice thing about our platform is everything is very customizable. As far as high converting landing pages, I think there's 2 components to that. One, yes, there's some physical components to the page that matter, but 2, it's also the offer. So we've had in the past some people that have been like big TikTok personalities, for example, and then they're driving people to a page on the site. And I think one of the guys had like 300 leads in the first 90 days, all from his TikTok business. But that's because there is a component of the goodwill and value who he's creating up front that has to match where you're sending them. So I'm always hesitant to say like, okay, this is the perfect landing page. It's going to convert so well, because it's reliant on the upfront message as well. Does that make sense? Like, for example,
100%.
we have a client that does rate tables, and we tweaked. It was funny when he came to us about his landing page. He's like, "Listen to this problem," which is actually funny. We solved it, but he was saying people click on on the rate from the rate tables and get to my site, and then they don't believe that my rates are real. How can I make it so people know that that wasn't just a, like a loss leader? Because they think they're too low, basically. So what we did is we took the URL parameters from the rate table and pushed it right onto the landing page. So you see, I'm just making the numbers up, 6.5% at $1,000 buy down, this APR. We just trailed that. So now when you get to the landing page, not only was it the same brand, it had the, thank you for your interest in the 6.5% with the $1,000 closing costs and this APR. And just that little tweak made the landing page convert better and the conversations not feel like he was trying to bamboozle somebody, because people were going through the form before. The call to action was like, see instant rates. So he's almost like tricking them up front, like, I think I'm going to fill out this form to say I'm going to get rates, and then it's a thank you page. Well, that's not a good way to start off a relationship with somebody, right? Like tricking them. So just those minor tweaks completely change the conversion. My point is that I think the question is a little too general to just give you one sentence. A good landing page has to match with a good campaign and a good offer, but I'm very confident that we can solve the back half if you have the front half in your business, if that makes sense.
Well, I will answer, not for you, but what I'm seeing out there on landing pages that are doing well for people. One is offering people a second look. So like some type of second look page, whatever your message is. Just sometimes your friends, family, people that you interact with don't want to trouble you, especially after they've already got a quote from someone else. So imagine that your brother-in-law already got a quote from someone else. The last thing he wants to do is come back to you and say, yeah, I was going to go through my bank, but I just want to like bounce it by you to see if I'm getting a good deal. Like they don't even tell you. They'll go to a third person. So if periodically you've got this, get a second look page, you're just talking about it. Maybe it's once a month, once every 2 weeks. Hey, anybody out there shopping for a loan? I don't care if you go someplace else. If you're anything like me, you want to have a little peace of mind that you're getting a good deal. Upload your loan estimate here. We'll take a look at it. We'll get back to you within 24 hours. I'll let you know if you're getting a good deal or not. No harm, no foul. And you direct them to a page. The page is already set up to where there's a place to upload it. It works really good. It was turnkey. It took you 8 seconds to add it to your website. And now that becomes a message that you do every 3 weeks. Like there's a message every 3 weeks. Hey, Federal Reserve just lowered rates. Here's my message. I know it's the home buying season's heating up. The Easter Bunny was just here. Double check your rate. So it's just something that every 3 weeks you do. So that's one page that I've seen just traditionally across. I don't care who you're with, that people have that's converting well. And the other one,
just to be clear, we do have a second look form and page already built out. So that comes with all our sites as well.
Yeah. Turnkey, piece of cake. It's easy. It just becomes part of it. So, and then you're driving somebody with a specific call to action to a place. The other thing that I see is HELOCs, second mortgages, if you offer them, having specific pages talking about the benefits of that, debt consolidation, all of those things. Then your message, again, every 3 weeks to all of your people is that, hey, we also offer home equity lines. Don't get rid of that 3% first mortgage today. Look at this option first, check it out. And those pages convert. I don't know anybody that has one of those pages, either of those two that I just mentioned, that did less business because they had the page. So none of them have done less business. And it is funny that you bring up that situation where somebody's rate's too good to be true. I had a broker that I work with that runs super low margin. One man shop, just all by himself, runs a super low margin, like sub 1%. And one of his biggest things were people that very thing. I didn't think that your rates were real. And got way better conversion by adding a video that he sends out of just him. Hey, my name's Bob. The reason my rates are so low is I work out of my house. You can see
Yeah.
it. I don't have a lot of overhead. I don't own a single sports team, no complexes or a private jet. All I'm doing is trying to serve, a couple of dozen people month in, month out, give you great loans, get a 5-star review, and have you refer my friends and family. If you're into that, I'm into giving you a low rate. Reach out. And it was a video almost of that style and flair.
It's a great message.
Yeah. And it worked really well. Or you can try and hire, some celebrity to do it like Rocket Mortgage and see where that gets you. But I think that there's some really cool things out there. So let's talk about, I've seen you guys, I think, have some of the best calculators out there just on your standard Vonk pages. And like you mentioned before, there are, 4 million people or so month in, month out that's information that they want. Again, if you're mapping out your messages you need to do every 3 weeks, talking about a mortgage calculator, check out your payments, those kind of things is another one of those evergreen messages. You will get sick of saying it way before your people will get sick of hearing it. So just needs to be out there all the time. But I've seen your goalie. So tell us a little bit about goalie, what you're trying to do there. I think it's super cool. And you don't even need a Vonk site, I think, and you can still utilize goalie. So what is right? And we're talking hockey here, but what is kind of the mission statement behind goalie? What is it? And what are you trying to do there?
So how goalie started was, our core product is a website platform. Well, not everybody needs a website. If you've already built a website and have been managing it for 10 years, the idea of just moving a website to get one piece of it that you really want is the equivalent of like moving bank accounts. There's friction there. So I started getting people being like, we already have a site, but I'd love to get some calculators. And you can only hear that so many times before you solve for it as a business person. And the calculators on the website are not really set up to not be used on third-party sites. So that's where goalie came in. The name is about goals. So reach your goals by helping other people reach theirs. So it's all about, asking people what your goals are and giving them a tool to help them get that, especially if it's home ownership. So we started building these calculators, and to build them where they can work on literally any site takes a lot more thought and development. So what started out as a quick project spiraled into this huge project where now, because the infrastructure is built, I'm really trying to focus a lot of attention on adding new calculators there, and marketing features. They're really built to be more of a front end active marketing tool. And what I mean by that is, accounts come with 25 co-branded calcs. So you could co-brand calcs with your referral partners that they can then go embed on their real estate site or financial advisor site, all with built-in tracking, built-in contact management. You can send what we call verified calcs. So we have people now that are, and if you listen to some of the things I'm saying, a typical, mortgage calculator plugin that you just stick on a site does not do these things. So these verified calcs, we're having people they'll do a pre-approval for somebody. Now they know their income and debts, and they're giving the calculators as a companion tool with the pre-approval, because we have a way where you can add a contact into the system. You put their verified income and debts, hence verified calc, and then you can create an instant landing page that has a private calculator for them with their income and debts locked. And then now they can go look at a ton of different scenarios. So we're trying to do things like that to make it more of an active prospecting tool. There's built-in lead forms. We just rolled out a DSCR calc. How many properties, if you're listening to this and you deal with investors, how many properties do people have to go through to find one that not only the numbers make sense, but they're actually going to get? Investors, that pool of people is more impatient too. You're doing them a favor. Give them a DSCR calc where they can run 20 properties a day if they want and just see if they can move on. So it's little things like that, like the insights. Long story short, what started out as a side project ballooned into like, this is quickly becoming my passion project as far as the Vonk world. So we're just going to continue to add calcs, and I see it as a great free sample, chicken teriyaki, like we talked about. I also see it as a great entry point into the next, whatever your next step is in your, sales and marketing journey. So if your conversion is a booked call, or if it's an app download, or if it's a total cost analysis, or fill in the blank, I see this as a like a precursor to that, where free sample. Okay, now I'm starting to warm up. What's next? So
Yeah, it's somewhere on that journey between they discover who you are and they're ready to hit your apply now link.
mm-hmm.
Running calculator scenarios, understanding what you're going to spend is one of those variables that keeps them engaged with you. And I know of real estate agents that call their mortgage banker to get a payment calculator. Like,
Yeah.
I got this person, they want to know what their payment is, and they're texting their banker at 10 o'clock on a Tuesday.
Yep.
Like, if you've got a co-branded link with them, so they have their own calculator, their client they can fill it out right there. So
Yeah.
it's really cool. What you're building, I think, definitely has a place. And as we're all trying to capture eyeballs and keep and maintain people, we need to be discovered. And then we need to somehow or another still be in the room when they're making that buying decision.
Yep.
Having calculators, things like, right, we have the Fin Toolbox. That's our FinLocker product that we do.
Yep.
We had somebody on a couple of weeks ago that has a free rate update, right, where they're staying in front of the clients by providing rate updates.
Yep.
There's so many little widgets and things that you can do. I'm not saying that any one of them is right or wrong. I just have a really strong belief that if you want to still be in this game and be relevant a few years down the road, you've better have some kind of things in place.
Yep.
You're not going to be able to get by any longer with your pumpkin spice recipe going out on November 15th, the Happy Holidays card dropping on December 20th. We've got, you're going to send out a Think Spring card and you're going to do it 4 times a year. That's not going to work anymore. And Dan Gilbert used to say, when the speed of business outside of your company is moving faster than inside, your business is dying. You just don't know it yet. And the world's moving really fast and eyeballs people are grabbing them. And if you're still playing around inside of that old world, doesn't mean it won't work. It's just going to become harder and harder. And you're going to be fighting for less and less clients at the end of that journey that haven't already picked somebody.
Yeah.
So something like this is really cool. I'm actually, as listening to this, I got to find a way just to include Goalie in with what I'm doing and just make it an all-in-one package. Give people the Fin Toolbox, the FinLocker app, Goalie, kind of everything there.
Yep. Yeah, we can figure that. We could figure that out. One thing that you said earlier that I thought was I didn't get a chance to comment on when you said it, but I think is important. Like say, like when people are getting sick of posting the same thing, like that is such a trap that we have to all remind ourselves, myself included, that like even though you're sick of the message, it doesn't mean you should stop. Like the consistency is so important. Like the amount of information that we get pushed on ourselves just as normal consumers in the world every day, like we're all slowly becoming like Dory from Finding Nemo, where it's like, I am Dory. Like you just forget what already happened. So please, like, I'm only saying things that I literally have to say to myself in the mirror. Like, nope, people already probably forgot. Like keep saying it. So like the consistency, people are not getting sick of your content. Just you are. Like keep with the consistency because they're getting so distracted. Keep consistent with your content. And one of the reasons again to have your own calculator solution is because just as fast as you educated them on something, and to go back to what you said about people ending up on a mortgage calculator site and a rate table, it's the same thing. It's like, hi, I'm Dory. They don't even remember where they got the information from in the beginning. It's not like they're going to go get it, get the tool they want and then be like, but wait, John was the one that initially sent that. Let me undo what I'm doing and go back to John. Like, I don't know.
Yeah,
Consistency.
I got kicked in the teeth on something like that. I feel that I post so much about things. I had somebody that this person has worked for me 3 or 4 different times throughout the last 15 years. An actual like employee of mine or worked directly underneath me. Went out. I've got a version of our Fin toolbox. It's FinLocker's app. And they went out and purchased a kind of, I wouldn't even call it a competitor. It's a thing called Key Steps that FinLocker offers
Yeah.
to their clients themselves. Mine comes with training and how to use it and a whole bunch of things. Like we don't compete at all. I have a great relationship with, but he went out and did that. And I pinged him and I said, like just out of curiosity, like, why? Like, why did you not do that? And he's like, you know what? I completely just forgot. And I was like, well, damn, like if you forgot and and he's interacting and engaging with my content and probably even liked some stuff. I'm thinking, well, if you forget, then the normal person is forgetting 10X.
Yep.
And I think of my sales pitch. Like I've been saying that the lending world is really simple. Risk equals rate. I've been saying that since the late 90s. Like Bill Clinton was in office when I started saying that this is how mortgage works. And I tell people that today and they're like, oh, that's awesome. I'm like, I've said that 1,000 times.
Yeah.
And that's like, you're hearing it for the first time. So I think that that's
say
a really,
2000.
Yeah, a really good point. We just have to be out there and understand just because it's new to you doesn't mean that new person that's interacting with you, it's not the first time they're hearing it. And your mom or the kid from high school that's still following you on Facebook, they need the reminder anyways.
Yeah.
You definitely have to be very consistent there. What, if you were to go back today, and we've got a couple of minutes, I try to keep this under 1 hour.
Yep.
If you were to start today, let's say all the websites and all that stuff went away, and I said, Anthony, you've got to go back and originate today. And I'll even make it easy to where you don't have to build the company and like pick out your tech stack and all that. You're going to hang your broker's license at one of these, like hang your shop kind of places. There's a ton of them out there, Nexo, whatever it is, C2, Barrett. You have to go to one of those companies and start originating loans. What's the first thing you do?
I would start creating educational content. I'm a huge proponent of education. I would do that in the form of video. I would push that out I would focus on one market. It doesn't have to be necessarily a zip code, but a small enough area. And then I would use that as a companion and I would hit the streets. I would be at open houses. I'd be doing the true practice, the true hybrid model, real world plus digital. I think all the heavy hitters today are doing that. So I would just follow suit.
I'm assuming you'd probably have a website.
Of course, I'd have a website. Well, one thing I just forgot shame on me. I would identify a niche right up front and start there and be known as that. I know I heard you mention VA earlier. I like the investor products. So maybe it'd be DSCR. I love the 203Ks. So it's the stuff that's a little bit more cerebral. I'll say like a little bit more difficult to wrap your head around, and maybe there aren't as many out there, and become known for that. That's where I would start. Have a niche. Yes. Have a website. Have some sort of really good chicken teriyaki, like, multiple downloads, video content, calcs. But I really think the blend of on and offline is important locally now.
I would probably tend to do the same thing. I'm a lead buy guy. If I was to do the same thing, right, I would find a niche. I would aggressively go and buy leads inside of that space, and then try and target a niche, go after it, be really good inside of that space, while also trying to build that organic business over long
Yeah.
term.
Yeah.
But again, I want to have personalized landing pages, web pages, places to drive people with things of value, high
Yep.
value lead magnets that they can download and get in different ways, shape, and form.
Yep.
Anything that I forgot to ask about, anything that maybe I've missed, anything that somebody should know?
No, I think I don't. Going back to that Dory analogy, like I think we covered a lot. Let's not push out some good information that we've already talked about today with new stuff. Consistency we talked about. I think I just want to leave people with find what your chicken teriyaki is and add that into your strategy. What is your free sample? That piece of it's like dating. That's the best marketers attribute this whole sales cycle to dating. You wouldn't just walk up to a stranger on the street and propose to them. There's a cadence to it. And so what are the steps you can do to start building that trust early to eventually get to the proposal? But what are the things you're focusing on up front that can be impactful?
I agree 100% with that. You got to be discovered, and then you need to be there in the room still when the girl's deciding who she's taking to homecoming. You need to be in that mix.
Yep.
And then, there's a whole process of turning likes into leads. And that's where I think websites, landing pages, lead magnets, the world's becoming pretty good at getting likes on stuff. But the next real kind of superpower is when you can turn your likes into leads, and those leads then ultimately become applications that ultimately become closed loans. But it's a slow process. And Anthony said it a couple of times, just be consistent. If you continue to do this, in a year, you will not have less business as a result of your efforts.
Yep.
And you'll get a flywheel that starts moving. And the faster you push on it, the faster it goes, and the more loans that you ultimately end up closing. So this has been great. If you guys have inside of the show notes someplace, if you're watching this, it'd be on YouTube or wherever, I will definitely link back so you can get with Anthony. Probably best place to find you if they just want to find you. Is it LinkedIn?
LinkedIn is where I'm active
Okay.
personally. VonkDigital.com if you want to learn more about what we do there. Yeah, those are the best two spots.
And so if you're in there, you'll see about goalie and all those things. If you have questions, concerns, anything for me, maybe I missed something, I'm happy to answer all questions. I don't have a horse in any of these fights, right? Like I don't care if you use Rocket, UWM. I would love if you have questions for me. I'd love to help you and help grow your business, and got a variety of different ways to do that, whether it's one-on-one coaching where we do a deep dive into your business, or whether it's just you're signing up for, a little coaching here and there with the FinLocker app and some different stuff. Kind of got a wide spectrum. So anybody that wants to reach out to me, I'm happy to help. If you book a call, the one thing I'll guarantee, you'll walk out of that call with a couple of tangible things that can help your business move forward. It's up to you to put them in there, apply them, tell me I'm full of crap. It doesn't matter. I believe that they will help you, and definitely reach out to Anthony. I appreciate you guys all. 2025 is going to be a good year. I think we see significantly better rates the second half of the year. And I think that now is the time to start planning out your funnel. What does it look like when refi takes off again? What's the client journey look like for every person that comes to you from the first second their eyeballs land on you, all the way through a closed loan and a referral? That should be defined and mapped out what that looks like. If you've done that, you will do a lot more business at the end of the year. So, yeah. Anthony, I appreciate your time. Thank you. And we'll go ahead and part for today.
Thanks, Sean. That was fun.
If you're still here and you're watching this, you're probably getting something from our content. If so, maybe or I'm sure someone else that could also benefit. So if you could do us a solid, forward this, share it with your friends, other people that are like-minded that want help with simple solutions to grow their business. And if you want to do a little bit of a deeper dive someplace on here, there is a place to schedule a call with us to talk about your business and how we can grow it together. Look forward to hearing from you. Again, thank you for being here. Please do share.